Good morning. It has been crazy windy lately. We had a big windstorm on Wednesday, and it continues to be very, very windy today. So that gave me some inspiration for our art project this week. What we are going to be making is something called a wind sock. Now, you might have seen them before, but just not known the name for them. Usually, it is a tube of some sort, and then coming out the end of the tube are like streamers or ribbons so that you can tell the direction and then how strong the wind is. So our wind tubes, they would hang outside, and then when it's windy, then the wind is going to go through the wind tube, and the wind tube will point in the direction that the wind is coming from. And then the streamers in behind will tell us how strong that wind is. And so I thought, why not make one today? Now today might be a little bit too windy to put a homemade windsock outside unless you've made it with some very, very strong materials. So mine might be more of a calmer day windsock. And based on what you make yours out of, maybe it could withstand some strong winds like today, or maybe it would be more of a calm wind day as well. So in order to make this windsock, you need two things in particular. So you need one material that's going to be for your tube. So I have a piece of cardstock here, and I'm going to, after I decorate it, of course, be able to fold it over, and then this will be the tube part of my windsock. Now I've punched these 3 holes in the top so that I can hang it.
That's an opal. Turn into the office, please. That's an opal.
Okay, that was enough. So I've put these 3 holes, and then this is how I will put a string through it so that it will blow. And then maybe I'll have to take the hole punch again and put some holes at the bottom for my streamers to come out of, or I could just tape my streamers on. So I have this for my windsock tube, and then I have some ribbon. Oh, I didn't even bring my ribbon over. I have some ribbon that I'm going to use to come out the tail of the windsock. Now, you might, if you have, here's a couple things that work really well. If you have a tin can, that might be a good thing to use for like a more sturdy windsock, maybe like a paper towel or a toilet paper roll. Those would be great. They're already in that circle shape, so you don't need to do this. But if you don't have any of those, just a piece of paper will work. That's okay. You could use construction paper to make it colorful. You could use a plain paper and then decorate it yourself. The choice is yours, and really, the options are endless. And then you're going to need maybe ribbon or string. If you have like streamers, you could even use pieces of paper and cut them out into little strips and put that as the tails coming out of your windsock. So there's lots of opportunities. So the one that I'm going to make, I'm going to use this cardstock for the tube part, and then I have some ribbon that I'll attach afterwards. So first step, I'm going to decorate my cardstock. Okay, so you can use whatever material you want to decorate your windsock. Maybe you're going to use marker or pencil crayon or crayon. Oh, this is going to have a hard time focusing, isn't it? Let's see. Oh, you're just going to stay unfocused. Okay. Maybe if I adjust this a little bit more. So what I'm going to use, no, thinking. Well, maybe it'll be blurry for now. What I'm going to use is, I have some pencil crayons, and these are actually, they're really cool. They're watercolor pencil crayons. So I color like a pencil crayon, and then I take a paintbrush and some water, and I brush over them, and it becomes like watercolor. And so because it's a watercolor, I don't need to be perfect in my coloring. These are, I bought them at IKEA a couple years ago, so I don't know if IKEA would still have them, but if this is something that you're like, that's really cool, you could go and check out IKEA. You know, on your next trip to Calgary, maybe when COVID's over. All right, and then All right, I'm going to keep coloring these, and then once I'm done coloring this, I will show you the paint so that you can kind of see how it works, because it's really, really neat to watch it in action. All right, so I have this colored now. And now, this is the fun part. So I have a little bit of water. And now you can decorate yours however you want to. I'm going to do this. Keep in mind that if you do paint or something kind of like what I'm doing, it's going to need some time to dry. So I'm going to do a very thin layer on it. You can kind of see it in action, how it looks. And I'll blend my colors a little bit. All right, I'm going to keep going with this, and you can decorate yours, and then when I come back, I'll show you how to attach the streamers and finish off your wind sock. Okay, so I have painted this, and some of the watercolors turned out really great, like these ones, and others not so much, like these ones, but that's okay. Our next job is to add the string or ribbon or whatever it is that you're going to add for the tail. So I have some ribbon here. I don't have very much of it, but that's okay, because what's really neat about these windsocks is that I can have however many ribbons. They can be however long I want. Usually they're long enough for us to kind of be able to see, you know, how strong the wind is. But I'm going to do some trimming here. So I'm going to go like this. Like this. No, I like the idea of doing this in thirds. Okay, so like that. And then about that. All right, so I have 6 ribbons. If you want to do more, you can do more. If you want to do less, you can do less. If you want them to be longer, go for it. So it's all up to you. Okay, so I flipped this over because I'm going to be attaching my ribbons to the back side of this. So I'm just going to use some tape. If you have hot glue, you could use hot glue. Really up to you. And I'll kind of put them all evenly spaced. I want about the same amount of ribbon hanging off. All right. And then now I have some string that I'm going to be using for the top, but if you don't have any more, if you're like using all of your ribbon up, I want you to remember that you're going to need a little piece for the top. So don't use it all up if you can. I have a little bit of string that I'm going to use instead. So I've tied my ribbons on here. And now this part you might need a little bit of help from an adult, because I'm going to roll this up or roll this over like this to create the tube of my windsock. And then I've got my ribbons hanging out the bottom. So I'm going to roll this up and tape it, and then I'll be right back. All right, so I've taped mine together. I taped it on the outside, and I also taped on the inside just to try to keep it together even better. It's a little tricky to get that taped, but that's okay. Like I said, this is probably a very fair weather wind sock. Maybe the sock that you will be making is made of something that's a little bit more durable, and that's okay. That can be outside on the gustier days. So the last step is to add a piece of string across the top here so that I have something that I can hang my my weather sock by, or my windsock by. So I'm going to go grab my string, and I'll be right back. Okay, so there's a couple different ways that you can tie this. You could loop one end through this hole and tie it here, and then the other end through the other hole and tie it there. Or you can kind of weave it through both and make a little triangle and then tie that. So I think that that's what I'm going to do. So I've weaved it through both of them, and then at the top I will make my knot. Like that. There we go. And then I could trim these off, and that's how I can hang my weather vane, or my windsock outside. All right, here's what my final product windsock looks like. So I can hang it up outside. I've got these tails on the end that will tell me how fast it's going, and of course the wind will go through it. So I might put this out on a nice calm day when there's just a slight breeze, because I fear that today if I put it outside it would just blow away or get destroyed. So I might have to wait until it's a little bit less windy before I set it outside, but that's our art project today.